Okay, so I know I said in my last video I promised it would be my last JoJoLands discussion before it officially releases, but yesterday, a bunch of new images surfaced out of Japan that include a way better look at the new JoJo, his design, and even the main cast, as well as some pretty sick promotional art found around Shibuya. So because we still have a few more days until the chapter comes out, let's just consider this a part 2 of my last video. So the new JoJo. Previously, we had only seen the right side of his face and we had a discussion about his design, so I wanted to make this video because now we have a full front view of the character colored by Araki himself, showing us pretty much his entire design, as well as another image showing us his left side. So firstly, contrary to this character's first appearance, it looks like his left eye is going to be visible, as his bangs are split up into 3 patches of hair which create a window for his eyes. In my last video, I pretty much went all in that I believe that this is going to be the alternate Giorno, and now that we see his full design, there are even more similarities, as Giorno's design features 3 distinct curls of hair in the front, and this character has 3 separate patches of hair laying in front of his face, which may be how Giorno's hair would look if he let his curls down. Also, both characters have a heart motif on their chest. Giorno's seen through the cutout of his shirt, and the new JoJo has a heart with wings attached to his life vest, and the wings are also a key motif on Giorno's design, seen on his shirt's collar. But as for the rest of the new JoJo's hairstyle, it's really cool to see Araki incorporate his unique cracked eggshell design into a main JoJo, a hairstyle seen from characters like Foo Fighters and Steven Steele that's just synonymous with JoJo character design. And I gotta say, it is so refreshing to see a main JoJo with visible hair again and a cool unique hairstyle, as the last 2 JoJos, Johnny and Josuke, both wore hats, and for 10 years of JoJoLand, I don't think even once we had seen Josuke's hair, so I swear that hat was like surgically attached to his head or something. But moving down the design, while most JoJos do have their ears pierced with just studs, this JoJo wears quite a bit of jewelry, with a large JO-shaped earring hanging from his left side and a star in his braids, so when looking at the character from the front and reading right to left like a manga, it reads Joestar, which is just a really nice detail. As for clothing, we can see he wears a hooded life vest over top a short-sleeved undershirt, which sometimes he might wear the hood up or down depending on the situation, which has puffy shoulder pads, his heart motif on the front, and a strap across the chest. The life vest also appears to drape down the front of him past his waist like an apron, similar to the protective gear worn by sailors and fishermen to keep themselves dry. So it looks like sailing and sea travel is going to be a huge part of the JoJoLands if the JoJo is always wearing a life vest. Another key motif of his design is the word November written on the collar of his undershirt, which most likely references his stand's name, as the design of Giorno's collar, being the wings, also reflected the design of Gold Experience, having the same wings on its shoulders. So it looks like the main JoJo's stand name will have the word November in it, and people have already begun to predict that the stand's name will be November Rain by Guns N' Roses. This does seem very likely, as November Rain comes from the album Your Illusion 1, which is an album Araki has listened to extensively and has pulled many references from the album's 2 parts, featuring songs like Knockin' on Heaven's Door, Civil War, and Dead Horse. And it's pretty common in JoJo for words and letters on characters' designs to reflect their stands in some way, like Yuya from Part 4 having Speed Cane and Highway written on his tie, referencing his stand Highway Star, as well as Katie Jimura from JoJoLand wearing GU pins, referencing her stand's original name Going Underground, which was later changed to Born This Way. And speaking of Araki changing things, it's pretty common in JoJo for character designs to change over time, especially after their first appearances. Just looking at Josuke from Part 8, the first time we saw the character, compared to just a few chapters later, he looks like a different person, and even his clothes change. So it is entirely possible that this new JoJo could look completely different in just a few years. Although because of the time Araki has taken in between Parts 8 and 9, being over a year and a half, I expect this design to be way more definitive, as it seems Araki has taken more time to plan out and concept Part 9, more so than any previous part. So I'm really looking forward to what Araki has in store for us, as I'm sure during this break period he was still working on the part to some capacity, whether it was researching, writing, drawing chapters, or probably just a bit of everything. As alongside the new image of the Joestar, we also have a preview of assumingly the main cast. Spotted in Shibuya the other day was a massive mural of pretty much every character in JoJo, from Part 1 all the way up to Part 9, which at the end showcased the new Joestar alongside 4 other main characters and various minor characters. I assume the characters closest to the Joestar are the Jo Bros and companions, companions, as in the rest of the mural, the JoBros are always the characters closest to the JoJo. So the woman in the bottom left is most likely our main JoBro, and the character which was seen in the boat with the Joestar in the previous preview image who people thought looked like Hermes, as well as this funky guy in the wetsuit, the woman with the top knot, and the man with the hat on in the top all seem to be main characters, or minor villains that could turn into allies, while everyone else seemed to be background characters with less detailed designs. Although in terms of the setting, while I previously predicted Okinawa, a lot of these characters look more Polynesian and native, so I'm not really sure on the setting. Although some of these designs are reminiscent of previous characters, so we could possibly see more descendants in part 9. The main girl has a darker skin tone, dreaded hair, and wears some sort of headdress, as well as markings on her in a style similar to Sandman's design from Steel Ball Run. So she's most likely of Native American descent, or even the same tribe as Sandman considering the similar markings and having that connection to parts 7 and 9. Or if the part were to take place in, say, Hawaii, she could be a native Hawaiian or Samoan, again just depending on where the part takes place. Well, the man in the wetsuit just really reminds me of Ojiro, the surfer from part 8, and definitely looks like a man of the sea. And I assume all of these characters will be within the first few chapters of part 9, and the part will most likely begin with the Joestar and the woman, as they have already been seen together in the preview. And as for the man at the top of the page, while a lot of people have been calling for an alternate universe Emporio, I don't necessarily think wearing a hat immediately makes you Emporio, although he could be, I guess, but he seems to have a more unique design that I can't really connect into any previous character. Although his face looks really similar to Jobin in part 8, who we had seen in his younger flashbacks. Although, take that with a grain of salt, as if this part does take place after JoJolian, it is possible we could see a descendant of Jobin, as Mitsuba was pregnant at the end of the part. Although, looking at this page, the main JoJo has the same exact face as Josuke, the woman has the same exact face as Yasuo, and the wetsuit guy has the same exact face as Ojiro. So we know Araki and how he draws characters very similar, so just because this guy looks like Jobin doesn't necessarily mean he could be a descendant. But I guess anything is possible, and I really can't wait for that first chapter just so we can get a time period down here, because once we know if the part is after or before JoJolian, we can start filling in so many pieces and just start discussing this part in a more meaningful way. So it's pretty crazy that we get to see so many characters before the part even begins, and just something I never expected. It'd be like seeing Yasuo, Ojiro, and the Higashikata family before chapter 1 of JoJolian. It'd be so confusing. So really, who knows what role these characters will play. Although it did seem strange that we were so close to the JoJoLands, and there really hasn't been any marketing or hype being pushed by Araki. Pretty much just a preview page in the last volume of Ultra Jump and some tweets. But now that we are just a week away from the release, it is cool to see the marketing in Japan, such as the massive mural and this really cool staircase in the subway, which has been decked out with this massive art of all of the previous JoJos and the new JoJo on the ceiling. And of course, Polnareff printed on the bottom of the stairs for the memes. So now that we're just a few days away from the release of the JoJoLands, everything's starting to come together, and it really feels like we're celebrating the beginning of this new journey and welcoming this new character to the Joestar family, with the new artwork, the new characters, and having him on the cover of Ultra Jump. So guys, this will be my final pre-part 9 discussion. Please be sure to like the video if you're hyped or if you enjoyed, as well as subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 400,000 subscribers. We could probably hit it before the JoJoLands begins, and then we got all of you guys there ready to begin the journey from chapter 1, so be sure to stick around to start this journey with us. So for real this time, the next time I talk to you guys will be chapter 1 of the JoJoLands. Peace.